I think you're still muted, Deshaun.
There we go. Welcome. We're here. I'm off mute. It is November 20th, and this is Spring Office Hours, Season 4, Episode 30. It is the Spring Boot 4 release party. I am joined by my special guests, Phil Webb and Moritz Hallbriter. We're here.
Hello.
This is exciting.
Hey,
Like, it's all done. It's there. I can see it on the initializer. The blog post is out. Congratulations and thanks. Like, thank you. Sometimes it seems, and I know it's just, I'm one of millions, but sometimes it feels like these releases, you made them just for me. and it feels great. I feel like I get this nice gift every few months. Like, this is just fantastic. Thanks. How do you feel?
Tired.
I get it.
It's a long slog. A major release is always a long slog. So tired.
yeah.
When did it start? When did the whole release start? Because I did a call like 6 hours ago, and I started seeing releases coming through. I was surprised to see 3.5.8 when I was doing my demo. Like, when did this whole thing start? How long does it take?
I was in bed, so I guess Moritz kicked it off. Were you the first? Or was it Andy?
Yes, I kicked the 3.4x release off. Then Andy did the 3.5 one. And Phil, I think you started the 4.0 one.
Yeah, about 8 a.m. this morning. Yeah.
It took how long did it take to finish?
1.5 hours, I think.
It took about 1.5 hours for the bits to get through, and about another hour for me messing up the blog post and like putting the wrong titles on it and the wrong date on it and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, the release is, if it goes smoothly, it's fairly automated, and you just kind of sit there waiting.
It's fantastic. So we're here. I think one thing that everyone would love to hear is like, what's in it? Why should we look? What are we doing? What's the point? Why would we want to grab Spring Boot 4? What's cool? I'm going to start with you, Phil.
What is in it? I think probably the most, I don't know whether it's the most user-facing feature, but the biggest amount of effort has gone into modularizing the code base. So Spring Boot 3.5 and earlier versions had this big auto configuration jar that would do like absolutely everything it could based on what it saw. And Spring Boot 4 now has lots of smaller auto configuration jars, and you kind of pick the ones you want. And there's a lot of benefits in that for us and for you.
I think you're answering Eric's question. Eric says, hey, auto configuration classes have moved and nothing's starting. I need a 4.0 to 1. No, Eric, if you had taken the milestone releases, you would see that, yeah, things have moved around a little bit, but it's all there. It's just,
I hope it's there.
It has moved. Well,
to be fair, we haven't, it's only just out, so it could be that we published empty bits or something.
I'm pretty sure that we've got a lot of people and people that are already on this joining us. I know that they've taken these things for a spin. They have been upgrading. They've been using the milestone releases. So I'm confident that they're there. So yeah, let's see. So we got people joining from all over. That's fantastic. And we have, Spring Team is in the chat. So if you've got questions, I like to say, when you come to my house for dinner, if you leave hungry, that's your fault. If you've got questions here, the Spring Team is here to take your questions. Get them in the chat, ask your questions. Don't leave hungry. If you don't ask your questions, that's your fault. And my mom and dad are always watching. So yeah, thank you for sharing where you're joining from, because yeah, they like to see where everybody's joining from around the world. And look at this, no better 44th birthday present my wife could dream of. Yeah. This isn't the first time that PHP had a release the same time as Spring Boot.
No, it's not a coincidence.
It's not a. Are they trying to compete? Are they trying to
maybe it's the same.
Get some of our sunshine?
Team. It's the same team behind both. Who knows?
Oh boy. I don't know if we want to start any of that kind of rumors. That might get confusing. This is fantastic. I'm on 3.5.7. Should I move to 3.5.8 or 4.0?
Yes.
Yes. You should move to one of them. Yes, that is the correct answer. From Nigeria, from Kenya. Fantastic. So the auto configuration It has moved. Things are now our stuff is smaller. That makes it easier for the Spring team to make decisions based on what's in the class path, but also for our friends, for you, the community that's building starters. Now you have a little bit easier job determining what's on the class path and what to do. So that's fantastic. Moritz, what are some of your favorite things coming in Spring Boot 4 or now available in Spring Boot 4?
Yes, the whole JSpecify story took a lot of my time. So I touched like every file in the code base, I think, including the tests, adding nullable annotations on that stuff. I mean, the other portfolio projects did that too, like Framework and all the other projects. So this is especially cool if you are either a Kotlin user, because like the Kotlin compiler automatically translates this into nullable types, or if you are using like IDEs, which I hope you do. So they also warn you about stuff that can be null now, because we, like Spring Boot 3.5 had no nullable annotations in it. And now with 4.0 we have. So stuff which can return null, it has a nullable annotation on it. And this means if you use that stuff without checking, then the IDE warns you. And you can even put in compiler plugins, which then let the build fail if you use something which can be null, but you haven't checked it.
For people that might not know, what's JSpecify?
JSpecify is a working group consisting of a lot of big companies and players inside the Java space, and they sat together. And like Java had like already 3,000 of those nullable annotations from different packages. Like JetBrains had one, and JSR 305 had one, and Findbugs had one, and stuff. So JSpecify sat together and created the next specification to unite them all, essentially. And I think it's only like 4 annotations, but the bigger part of the work was to document and specify that stuff, how it should behave, so that like every compiler plugin, every IDE behaves the same with JSpecify. And JSpecify has essentially the idea that if stuff is null, you should annotate it so that we can fix the billion-dollar mistake of null in Java.
I got to watch Jurgen was on with Josh earlier today, right? And yeah, this has some benefits for Kotlin users, but Kotlin kind of already had that. We already had that with the last release, and now this is a massive improvement for the Java side of the house.
Yeah, Kotlin had it for framework, but not for the entire portfolio, not for Boot. So this is the first time Boot's getting it.
So across the board, we have this.
It took, I think, I don't know how long it took Moritz. It, like you said, it touched every file. And I think the thing that amused me most is we found, I think, one genuine null pointer bug in our own code that it fixed. And a lot of sort of ambiguity is gone, but there was one bug that we fixed.
Well, that's
yeah,
fantastic.
we had one bug in 3.4 and 3.5, but not on 4.0, because I accidentally fixed it while working on the JSpecify stuff, but I haven't realized it, so I did not backport the fix. So now we have a bug which is only in 3.4 and 3.5.
Okay.
Another reason to upgrade.
Yeah. Another reason to upgrade.
And now it's fixed.
This is good. We got somebody said, maybe, I don't know who would say this, that Phil only does JavaScript. But it's the new kind of JavaScript, right? The new Java script where, you can still use the JVM just by writing Java. Maybe that's what they were confused about. Eric is having some questions. He's like, I don't know. Eric, we will help you figure this out.
WebMVC auto configuration.
Well, that sounds important, Phil.
It does. It is.
There's a WebMVC module. I suspect it's in there. Maybe you've got a. So it depends if you're using our starters or not. First thing to say is like check the wiki, because there's a migration guide that kind of covers what you need to do. But if you're doing your own dependencies, you might have just got the auto configure jar, and you might now not have the WebMVC module because you weren't using our starters. If you were using our starters, you get them. So maybe check that first.
We
All right.
also haven't renamed the classes, so only the packages should have changed. So try to delete one of the imports and let the IDE find you the new class for it.
Fantastic. Fantastic. We're moving. Could could you mind explaining modularizing Spring Boot? Um, kind of modularizing the auto configurations. So yeah, Phil, I'll let you hit that one.
So, so we've been doing the team that works on Boot has been on Boot a while, and every year Andy says we should try and split up the auto configuration jar every year, and we're always like, yeah, we should, and then we never do until this release. So it's something we've wanted to do it for years and years and years and years. The main advantages of it are that, like, first of all, you're not dragging all this kind of like unnecessary bytes around in your application. Like, for instance, we have auto configuration for Spring MVC, but we also have like Spring Webflux and Jersey. Like, you're never going to have all three in one application, so it's kind of annoying that you get all this extra stuff. Same with like you pick a database migration, you got Flyway or Liquibase. You're not going to have both in the same app, and yet we always ship all these bits to all your apps. So that's the first thing we're trying to solve, is that. But the biggest benefit, I think, is that we now have like a much clearer signal. So like Spring Boot tries to do things based on your class path, and it's worked out pretty well. Except sometimes you've got a jar that does more than one thing. So for instance, the classic example is Spring Webflux, which is a jar that Spring Framework provide that's got server side, like the Spring MVC equivalent for reactive technology, but also a load of client side stuff, like Web Client I think is in Webflux. So sometimes when you have that jar on your class path, we're like, what do you actually want to do? Are you writing a client app or a server app? We don't know. And with the modularization, you don't have any of the kind of web server infrastructure if you're writing a client app. So we just know, there's nothing there to configure.
Fantastic. We do have a question like, when's the exact date? On Boot answered, right? It's already there. It's already ready already. If you go over to the initializer, you can see that we can build Spring Boot 4 already today, right now. It's already there.
Should be there as of about an hour ago.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Like, we just get to enjoy. We just get to enjoy. This is fantastic.
If you want to know the release dates of our projects, go to calendar.spring.io, and there you can see the whole release train of all the projects with the planned milestones. And if they are, I think, green, then they are done. If they are blue, then they are upcoming.
I'll be honest, I visit calendar.spring.io pretty much every day. At least every day during the week. I'm always showing calendar.spring.io because there's always people, did my issue get fixed? Did my thing get in? When is it coming? And you get a nice view. And I recall, I think it was 2023, because I was visiting it every day. There was only 2 weeks in the calendar year of 2023, only 2 weeks out of the whole year that there was not a single Spring release.
Spring Boot normally releases on Thanksgiving Day, and it's an anomaly this year because we're not. So
yeah, it's the third Thursday, right?
Yeah, no, it's the third Thursday after the first Monday.
The third Thursday after the first. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Otherwise, we end up releasing before certain projects, which is bad.
Okay, fantastic. That's good to know. You heard it here first. Calendar.spring.io. That's where you should go if you'd like to pay attention. That's a good spot. What else? What else? What else is in Spring Boot 4? Like, do I really need to move?
There's a lot of obviously we're picking up a lot of the other portfolio projects, so you get all the benefit there as well. Someone was talking to me the other day, and they said, "Oh, it's not much in this release, is there?" And it kind of is. It's kind of almost true that the major releases tend to not have a lot of like features because it tends to be a lot of fixing the sort of ground so that the next sort of major run, you've got a stable footing. So there's a lot of features that are coming from the other projects, and probably not too many in Boot itself. I guess I don't know. What do you think, Moritz?
We have, let me quickly look at the release notes. I think the main thing with Spring Boot 4 was that we took like two major deliveries. The one is the modularization, and the other one are the nullable annotations, and they took so much of our time. They are very important and very cool, and they will pay off in the future, I bet. But they were a lot of work. And what else do we have? We have support for Gradle 9. So for all the Gradle fans out there, hey, Gradle 9. HTTP service clients. Phil, you did a lot of work around them, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting feature. It's been there for a while in framework, but it needed like quite a chunk of boilerplate to get it working. So now you can kind of just take an interface and annotate it, and with a few lines get it up and running, and then you can call that interface, and it makes the REST calls on your behalf. It's a bit like Spring Data repositories, but for REST clients, or Feign if you've used that.
Yes.
That was another one that was. It's like it's a feature that actually took quite a lot of development time, even though it was already there. The kind of the sort of backing of it is actually quite complicated, because it's kind of creating. There's a lot of life cycle issues, the way that it creates the beans and when it has to create them. It was surprisingly hard to kind of get that feature right. And I think we're going to do a bit more on that stuff, like in the next few releases as well. But yeah, it's a handy feature.
So I'm going to go back one step to the releases. One of the top two questions that I get is, how do we deliver software like the Spring Team? We want to deliver more like the Spring Team. One of the things I've been saying lately, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I've been saying that Spring is actually legacy software. Spring has been around for 25 years, and we've got companies that have been using it for 25 years. And companies have figured out, right? Enterprises have grown. They were born, they've grown, they've matured on top of Spring. And that means something, right? To the 20 plus million users, hundreds of thousands of companies that are using Spring every day, it means something that you have a strategy. It means something that the Spring team has delivered software in this way that they can continue to grow their enterprise, right? With all of the changes, with the small team and the great community that we have behind it, we've managed to keep this thing going and continuing to improve. And with this release, with this new major version, like that seems like a pretty good thing to pay attention to for our enterprises that are delivering software. The way that we bump the major versions, our dependency versions, we always hear it. I always see it on Twitter and on the GitHub. Hey, can you bump this Kafka driver to the latest and greatest version for Spring Boot 2.4, please? Right? There's reasons that we do these things. So this, even though there's not a lot of features, there's still a lot of features. But one of the things was the API versioning. This having a strategy for how you deliver software, that matters. To do it when there's a lot of the world is involved in consuming this software, it matters even more. So even though, hey, it might not feel like there's a lot of pizzazz and pop, we've upgraded a bunch of these other versions, other software's APIs to the latest and greatest, to the latest stable that we could. And now they get to take advantage of it with Spring, the easy way, where it doesn't matter what version of Jakarta EE we're on. It doesn't matter. Jackson's just going to be there, because when you start new projects, you get the latest and greatest of everything. That matters.
Yeah, Jackson 3 is a big upgrade in this release. That was also
Jackson
another quite a large chunk of work.
Completely changed API. It wasn't just changing a dependency version.
No, coordinates changed, groups changed, and then rather last minute we had a kind of request to not throw away Jackson 2 entirely. So we've been trying to provide a gentler upgrade path for people that want to stay on Jackson 2 for another kind of 6 months, a year. But another like large chunk of work that it ends up being one line on the release notes. Upgrade
Absolutely.
to Jackson.
So how does that work? I think there's some bridge for Jackson 2 to Jackson 3?
So there is the first thing you should do is like try it, because the way that Jackson works is you've got the kind of core library and there's Jackson 2, the core library Jackson 3, and then they both share this kind of common annotations jar, I believe. So if you're just using like annotations and you've got like your own classes and you're annotating them with Jackson annotations, you may find that just upgrading things work fine, because those annotations haven't changed.
Okay.
If that doesn't work, there is a setting, I can't remember what it is, maybe Moritz can remind me, that you can say like use Jackson 3 as close to Jackson 2 mode as possible. I can't remember what it is. It's in the migration guide, I think. And that will make Jackson, that means you're using Jackson 3, but like a lot of what Jackson did in between 2 and 3 was change defaults. So this will like flip the defaults back to the way they were in Jackson 2. And if that doesn't work, there's a Jackson 2 module that you can use that pulls in Jackson 2 as it was, and then you can use that it's in a deprecated form, so you can use it for like 12 months
Right.
while you get your house in order.
Jonathan says, don't freak out when you see that jar with version number 2.x. Right? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Don't freak out. It'll be okay. Everything will be fine.
Yeah, I think he means there's a jar with probably 2 in the title, I think. I think Jackson 2x is the name of the module.
Got it. Fantastic. What are some others?
Maybe Moritz wants to talk about OpenTelemetry. We've got some good stuff there. If you don't, part of the modularization, another benefit.
Yeah, so we've added the new starter for OpenTelemetry. So in Spring Boot 3.5, if you want to have OpenTelemetry, you essentially have to puzzle your dependencies in the right order, essentially, that to get OTLP export. So OTLP is the OpenTelemetry protocol, so the protocol backing OpenTelemetry to send your traces and metrics to the endpoints. And with Spring Boot 4, we have added an OpenTelemetry starter, which is called Spring Boot Starter OpenTelemetry, which is a very creative name. And if you put that starter in, it pulls in all the other modules you need so that Micrometer gets configured to export metrics in the OpenTelemetry format. It starts sending traces in the OpenTelemetry format. And I've published a blog post about the OpenTelemetry stuff 2 days ago, which also shows how to send the logs to OpenTelemetry. And this is now with Spring Boot 4 so much easier to just drop in a starter, and then the thing emits OpenTelemetry traces and metrics.
That's hot. I got to see a presentation from Moritz, and on the initializer, you can go to the initializer, you can say, hey, I'd like OpenTelemetry, and if you use the Docker Compose, it actually pulls down a stack, the LGTM stack, and you get all the benefits of OpenTelemetry, and you can test and validate it locally. That's hot. Like, I used to always refer to Jonathan's tea house to go and kind of get a stack that had all the things in place. And now I get it from the initializer.
Yeah, and another thing that we should mention is that I think I'm right in saying that all of the metrics code used to be in the actuator jar in 3.5. So we couldn't even do this in 3.5. This is like another benefit of the modularization. Like if you wanted to have OTel stuff, OpenTelemetry stuff, you would have to have actuator. And a lot of people like don't want actuator like the full thing. And now you can have like, I just want micrometer. I'm not going to have my actuator endpoints. I don't want to risk those.
This is also on started Spring.0. So if you now select a metrics backend which pushes data, for example, like Datadog or Graphite or the others, then you don't get actuator out of the box. You only get actuator if you select, for example, Prometheus, which is a pull-based system. So you need the actuator endpoint. But for the other ones, you don't get actuator off the box. You have to add it yourself if you want it. But like all the metric stuff now works without actuator.
But who doesn't want the actuator endpoints? They're so helpful.
Some people don't, because there was a blog post a while ago about someone who left it open and, and had their heap dumps stolen, which was not good. So it's secure by default, but you can still shoot yourself in the foot. So
But
at least
maybe,
you don't have a
We
gun.
made
You
it harder.
yourself.
yeah, I do. I hear that every once in a while. Like, should we use actuator? Is it okay? It's nice. It's really, really nice. But you should do it, yeah, with security turned on.
Yeah, it's secured by default, like Phil said. If you set the wrong properties, then it is no longer secure, but we made it way harder. Like, for example, the heap dump endpoint, which was the latest thing about actuator in the news, we disabled that by default, I think. So, and you have to explicitly enable that thing. Otherwise,
Yeah,
even
I think that was
if you expose
Oh.
like everything, the heap dump endpoint isn't in there anymore.
Yeah, and it can affect other things. We had the Spring Hill Gateway. If you've enabled all these things and you left these endpoints on, yeah, like, but don't do that. Be secure. There's a good question here from Agile Guru. He says, will this release also trigger STS and IDE, perhaps VS Code plugins? When do
I think there is. I don't want to speak for the wrong. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I remember reading in one of our internal chats about some releases for STS and IDE stuff. So I think there is. I'm not sure.
I think those show up on.
I'm not sure whether we've triggered it or whether they were on the release train or whether they were just scheduled to release anyway. But I believe there is some new releases coming out. You'd have to talk to Martin about that.
Spring Tools got released on October 27th. Again, I'm looking at the calendar. So yeah, well, there's definitely been releases. It typically stays in. Oh, and it also got released last week. So Spring Tools 4.32.2 got released on the 10th. So it's close, right? And if it's not in there yet, it'll be there shortly, I'm sure. So fantastic tips. And we just had people coming in. Yes. Oh, look at Spring Tools. 5 is in RC.
Oh, there you go.
Look at that. Like, see, we have a good group here. We have a good group.
Yeah, the release train that we now do every sort of 6 months really helps people like know when stuff's arriving. It's kind of helpful.
I've always felt because Spring is open source, and I had this thought in my head that it is really valuable when community takes these things for a spin. Like, we push out the milestones. That's another change that we did with this train, is the milestones and the release candidates, they're in Maven Central. So to use Jurgen's words, like, we've lowered the bar, the access to this. You don't have to do a lot of work to go and get access to these releases. How valuable is it? How much feedback do we get? Do we get enough?
I would say it's been quite helpful, and also quite helpful for us, because I don't know if you've ever published anything to Maven Central, but they have a lot of rules, like, oh, you forgot the Java doc jar. So it's quite a release to do this GA and know that we've already published things to Maven Central, so that we're not going to hit like the usual hiccups we do when we add new modules.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear.
What do you think about the issue tracking? So would you say we've had more, about the same?
I'm not sure. I'm always happy when someone chimes in and tries the milestones or the release candidates, because that's like the only way we get feedback from the community, because we sit in our bubble and we hack on Spring Boot essentially, but we are not the ones who are running this stuff in production, right? We are writing the framework. I mean, we have some apps like Starter Spring.io, which uses Boot and runs in production, but it's not that much. We are more in the framework business, and we are always very thankful when someone takes our milestones or release candidates for a spin and then provides feedback if something breaks or something behaves slightly weirdly. But I'm not sure if we got more feedback by the move on Maven Central, but maybe we have to.
I think we will with the next release, because one of the things that's like, obviously a major is quite a chunky release anyway, so maybe a lot of people aren't going to just try upgrading their own apps, whereas I think when we get onto the minors, it will be very easy for people to just change a version number and see if it works, whereas like at the moment you have to go, I often go to Spring Initializer like start.spring.io and then select the snapshot or milestone and then explore and look at the the bit of config that I need to copy and paste into my Maven build. and I think it's going to be helpful that users won't need to do that. When we start releasing whatever the next version is, 4.1.
Yeah. One of the other things that kind of go unseen that I'm aware of, I'm lucky, and I'm sure a lot of our community is the collaboration between the Spring team and these other projects, right? There's a lot of work. It's not just like, hey, we're going to grab your versions. There's coordination. There's collaboration between the Spring team. The Spring ecosystem is massive. Like, how many conversations did you have to have with teams outside of the Spring team in this last release? I have to imagine dozens at a minimum because of how big it is.
Actually, not so many for our team, I would say, because we're like towards the end of the chain. But I think if you look at what Framework did,
Mhm.
they had a lot of discussions. I know that they worked um, on Jackson stuff, on the JSpecify work. I think we have calls with IntelliJ people, to make sure that things aren't breaking there. But we're kind of fortunate in that we're the end of the food chain, so most of those things have happened. And actually, interestingly enough, it's not like there's a secret chat room or anything. Most of these things just happen in the open. You can probably find the discussions on GitHub. Maybe they just have a bit more weight because people know that it's going to be part of a project that a lot of people adopt, so it could affect them. But
Yeah,
there's
I, I
nothing special about the way we communicate with
I
these
took this
people.
question offline where some folks in the community they were asking like, "Hey, why was this made? It would be good to know like why this was made." And in my head, everything is done in public, right? There's no. They asked about architecture decision records. There's no like hidden reasons why the Spring team is making decisions. Is there? It's open source.
No, there's not. We have calls that sometimes it's easier to make a decision when you can just rapidly talk to each other, but we then try and update the issue tracker um, with the reasonings behind like whatever decision we made as a team. So there's no like hidden document or hidden issue tracker. Like everything's in the open. I mean, I said we've been doing this a while, and most of us are now um, have failing memories, and I have to remember to update the issues because I know that if I go back to that, if I look at issues that were logged 6-7 years ago, even if I fix them, having like good comments and release information, like good notes in the issue, like really helps. So there's nothing hidden.
Fantastic. There's a comment, right? Agent Smith is having problems. He wants to be updating, but his team refuses to upgrade their dependencies. And there's a question from Malek. Is there an automated tool like OpenRewrite, right, for migrating? Yes, OpenRewrite is a tool. You can use it. It's happy. Now the Spring team, their Spring Boot 4 just got released, so the recipes haven't been released yet. But if you want access to the recipes, they're coming December 15th for those that are consuming the Spring recipes from Spring Enterprise. Yeah, try it. There's options. OpenRewrite's awesome. Take it for a spin. But yeah, look for those things because 6 months from now, we're going to have another version of Spring Boot. In a couple of months from now, we're going to have another version of Java. You should be taking Java 26 early access, right? If you want to squeeze all the performance, all the benefits out, like you should be looking ahead. So Agent Smith, move forward. Malek, yes, find open rewrite recipes or make open rewrite recipes. It's a powerful framework. Use it. Good
Also,
stuff.
Spring Boot 2 is long out of open source support. So if you get hit with a CVE, you'll be scrambling to upgrade. So it's probably best to if unless you're like getting support from somewhere.
Can
It would
I
be
can I talk about that for a minute?
sure.
This is a place that I like to talk is uh, there's a lot of old Spring out there, and I understand sometimes you move on, it's working, and there's some apps that are like they're taking a one request a day or five requests a day. They're connecting the lunchroom with the mailroom or something, right? They're not high priority, but they're still running, and they still might be exploitable, and it would be nice to patch them up. But there's no time where there's ever going to be less software running in your enterprise. And So next year, there's going to be more software, and because of AI, even more software, and you still have to take care of it. So this idea of like, oh, why would I want to sit on Spring Boot 2? It's no big deal. It only takes 5 requests a day. Why would you want to risk it? Why would you want to risk having something unpatched? I have opinions on that. The other thing is it's running slower, right? Even if it's running on a Raspberry Pi, if you upgrade it to Java 25, maybe a native image, you could maybe fit 2 of those on the same Raspberry Pi. Like, move it forward, right? The bits aren't going to go bad. It'll still work, but it might be exploitable. So move forward.
Yeah, or by support.
Yeah, by support, right? And what does that look like? Our support, get up to 2.7,
Yeah,
right?
I
We'll
think
support 2.7 for a
we
few more years.
yeah we still support 2.7 if you're a Broadcom customer.
Yeah. So that's a fairly recent change. That just changed in May, I think, with the last release. The last minor version of every major version, if you buy the long-term support, you get 6 years of support. So 2.7 is still in that 6-year window. 3.5, now that we have 4, 3.5 still we got years. So you don't have to get up to Spring Boot 4 if you want long-term support. You
Yeah,
can get it.
you got a little while.
You got a little while. Fantastic. Pink Emma likes to steal my tokens, and she says, "Don't take away Java 8." Java 8's still out there, but yeah, it's just costing you more to run your software. If you're running on Java 8 today, which a lot of companies are, uh, you're stealing from your own wallet. Because if you were to just upgrade to a new version of Java, Java 25, for example, it's going to start up faster. It's going to take less memory. And it's probably going to perform a little bit better too. Garbage collection at a minimum is going to be better.
So the good news
So
is Spring Boot 4 didn't raise the Java baseline. The bad news is Spring Boot 3 did. So like if you're on Java 8, you're already out of date. You
yeah,
need to be on 17, I think.
so yeah. Uh, Simon, he's one of the folks that's already taken it for a spin, and he cares, right? And there's a lot of stuff in there. Uh, it wasn't so bad. So yeah, he's saying, yeah, give it a try. Uh, since 4.0 is just released today, is it safe for production applications or wait until 4.1? This is another question that I get a lot. Why would I wait till 4.1? I'm going to actually pull this one back up. And I want to show something here. If you look here, 2.7 got released today, 3.2.19, 3.3, 4.0. These all got released today. These are all going to go, I'm certain that maybe not the 4.0, maybe it hasn't reached production yet, but I'm certain that every other release that's on here has already made it to production. And this question of, is it ready for production? Why would you wait for 4.1? These are ready for production. You can take, don't be on N-1. Because guess what? 4.1 is going to get released the exact same day as 3.5.9 or 5. Whatever it is. All these releases are coming out. 4.1, just being a 4.1 doesn't make it any more stable.
I'd
Take
say
4.0.
4.0 is production ready, especially if you consider that. I mean, there's been a lot of moving code around, but there's also a lot of the same code, that that travels with these things. So it's not like it's a brand new rewrite of everything.
Fantastic. Yeah, I get that question a lot. Like, why? We're a big enterprise. We can't be on the latest and greatest. Yes, you can. There's a lot of big enterprises that are on the latest and greatest. Maybe not for their entire portfolio, right? But our friends over at Netflix, they talk about how they have moved. I think the last number I heard was like 80% of their software was on the latest and greatest, and they also have shared all the benefits of all the things. In their Spring Boot, they're using all the latest and greatest, moving it forward. They're using things like Open Rewrite. So yeah, this is fantastic. What other hotness? What should we be celebrating?
What else have we got in here? Like, there's a few things in the framework. Like we've already said, service clients versioning. There's a new JMS client. If for those people still doing JMS, that's kind of fun. Lots of little things and lots of stuff that I'm kind of looking forward to starting work on. We really, 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 really wanted to get gRPC in this release, but
Mhm.
it didn't make it, unfortunately. So I think probably in the early milestones of the next version, we'll start to see some gRPC auto configuration going in. That will be fun.
I have a question. Do you think that the gRPC that we're hearing more about gRPC is because of the Spring gRPC project, or has just demand for gRPC been growing?
I think it's always been there actually. Like I think it's one of the ones that has been on the like, oh, maybe we should do something with this for a while. Um,
I can definitely say that the questions from the community that I engage with have definitely seemed to have increased since the last release, since Spring gRPC got announced. Yeah, it's kind of maybe just revitalized some of these conversations. So yeah, we have some comments here. I migrated my repos previously took 35 minutes. Now it takes 4. That's fantastic. Stay on the latest and greatest.
wow.
The first class support for Java 25 whilst retaining Java 17 compatibility. This is the big thing. So even though we didn't move the baseline, should we just stay on 17 or should we move to 25?
Wow, what do you think?
I have strong opinions on this. Definitely move to 25 as soon as you can. All the performance benefits are there. Yeah, upgrading will reduce your electricity bill.
Yeah.
There's all of this amazing stuff. You should definitely use it.
I mean, 25 is after, like, 21 was the LTS release with had virtual threads in it, which was already huge. And then 24, I think, fixed the thread pinning issue, like most of them. So 25 is the next LTS release, which picks it up. So I'd absolutely go only for that feature to JDK 25.
I heard from, I think it's a good source, Jurgen, talking to Josh Long earlier today. He said Spring, there was no reason to move this baseline because we get the benefits. But also, the baseline will not move from 17 to 21. If it does, when it does, it'll go to 25. It'll never be baseline at Java 20 because 25 is the better implementation. So
I mean, I think it's safe to stay on 17 if you're not using virtual threads. That's probably fine for a while. But if you're using virtual threads, I would definitely jump on 25.
I mean, I think the biggest pain from JDK 8 to something newer was, like, I think 8 to 11, where they did all the modularization stuff inside Java, which wrecked a lot of stuff. But like from 17 to 25, it's not that hard anymore.
Yeah. There was some other stuff, framework stuff, the resiliency features, and the retry and concurrency annotations. What about concurrency annotations? I don't know anything about concurrency
A concurrency limit, maybe.
A concurrency limit, yeah.
Oh, is that the resiliency stuff? Or
yeah, that's in the resiliency stuff.
That's from yeah. This was in Spring Retry, and this Spring Retry project has now been folded into Spring Framework. So all the retry annotations and concurrency limit and stuff are now directly in Framework, and now you can annotate all your stuff and don't have to deal with semaphores anymore.
Yeah, some of this stuff we need to support in boot, and some of it we just get for free. And I think that's one of the ones that we mainly got for free. We didn't have to do much on our side.
My non-A apps will be upgraded to Spring Boot 4 tomorrow. I can't wait for Spring AI to become compatible. I think Spring AI 1.1 works with Spring Boot 4. Am I misunderstood?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I know we were like lobbying to get Spring AI on the release train, but it's such a fast-moving project that I think they need like a few more months to really get things right. At one point, there was a talk of trying to get a Spring AI version that supported Boot 3 and 4. Highly don't recommend trying to write like something that complicated that works with Boot 3 and 4. Like, pick your poison. So I think they're going to, I don't know if it's 1.1 or the next version after that, but I doubt they're going to have it supporting both versions.
Yeah. So Alexander, he's already taken it for a spin. It does not work. All right. So Spring Boot 2
as
or Spring AI 2 is on the way. We're expecting that in February. Again, we can look at calendar.spring.io. That's when it's targeted. So yeah, stay tuned.
For anyone who's doing their own like libraries that build on Boot, I would take a similar tack, like do a new major version of your own libraries. Don't try and support both versions.
Fantastic. This is good. We're moving in the right direction. I really am a big fan of the Spring AI project. We can expect that Spring AI 2.0 right after holidays, right? Enjoy your holidays. And then a little bit after that, we'll get a new version of Spring AI, which is also moving fast and hot. What else? Like, this is great. Like, I feel good. I want to go and update all of my software. I want to be on Spring Boot 4. What else is happening in it? What do you do after the Spring Boot 4 release comes, right? What's next?
So we have this lovely little like diagram somewhere when the release train was first put together. It's like every 6 months we're going to do this, and then once the release is done, we're going to have like RC is going to go out, and then we'll have a month where we won't need to do anything because the RC is out. We're not going to touch it, and a month after where we're going to be able to like go through our GitHub and sort out all the issues and stuff. I don't think we've ever managed to actually really stick to that plan, but the plan is always like, okay, this next month is like fix the bugs that come in and like try and get some themes and prune the issue tracker. We've got like, I don't know how many issues we've got open at the moment. Probably a lot.
Some backlog grooming. Yeah,
I feel like
so
with Spring Framework, in 6 and in Spring Boot 3.5, there was a lot of grooming. There was a lot of like, hey, we've cleaned up some of these old issues.
Yeah, we like have issues targeted to versions. So there's only like 10 in 3.5x, 16 in 3.4x. But in 3x, there's like 209, and there isn't going to be another 3. So they need to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I think in 4x, we've got 107 and then 146 in the general backlog. So that's a lot of issues that, and most of those are kind of suggestions. They're not, like bugs. If they were bugs, we'd have triaged them to the right place.
Right.
And sometimes we have stuff that, sits in the issue tracker for years and suddenly makes sense. And sometimes we have stuff that sits in the issue tracker for years and then suddenly it's like, this is never going to make sense. We need to get rid of it.
Marcus asks, when will the Cloud Foundry Java build pack support Java 25? It's already there. It's still, I think, Java 8 by default, but you just have to pass an environment variable that says, hey, I would like to use Java 25. So it's already there. It's been there for a while. I've been using it. Take that first spin. Agile Guru, yes, if you're using Spring AI, what we've just confirmed, do not upgrade those to Spring Boot 4. Stay on Spring Boot 3.5.
Are there Spring AI snapshots out yet? Maybe you can try the snapshots and live on the real bleeding edge.
For the 2.0? I actually don't know.
The same for Spring Cloud. Spring Cloud is on the release train after Spring Boot.
So what comes after Spring Boot? Spring Cloud, Spring Modulith, Spring AI.
Yeah.
Right now it's gRPC as well.
Yep.
Yes.
What else? Is that it?
I think that's
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're using one of those, wait a bit until they release something which can pick up Spring Boot 4, and then.
And if you're wondering when it is, calendar.spring.io. You can go and see when those releases are coming. But you can also try out. All the projects have this same release candidate milestone approach, right? I don't think we always see the same number of release candidates or the same number of milestones across the different projects. But your favorite project, your Spring AI, your Spring Cloud, you could go grab the milestones. If you're trying to move to the next version, you want to upgrade, go grab the milestones, make sure that release goes smoothly, get your feedback in.
That's we try and do every month. We try and do a milestone, with the exception of like we won't start the 4.1 milestone for a few months. But once we started M1, there'll be another one in a month, and then we try and do one release candidate. And Spring Boot 4, we had to do 2. I think Framework often has to do 2, but they're on a yearly release cadence. So often they have more stuff, so there's more chance of needing an RC2.
Right, this feels like it's almost somebody popping in and saying, hey, what's the best JDK vendor? Well, I read somewhere it's Bellsoft. I read that same thing too. The reason why you might have heard that it's Bellsoft is because when you get the Spring support, uh, Bellsoft Liberica support is included. So yeah, Spring works on all the JDKs. So yeah, if you're following the standards, it'll work. But if you have support, commercial support, you can get that through Spring support. You can have support for both your JDK and Spring. So good
We
question.
build on Bellsoft for the CI, and if you want to contribute and you check out the project and you use SDK man, then the SDK man RC file will also pick Bellsoft. So, not saying it's better, but that's just the version that we pick.
So Agile Cruisers, thank you, gentlemen. You saved a heck of a lot of time. That is fantastic. Jonathan's saying Spring AI 2.0 snapshot should be boot 4 compatible.
There you go. Upgrade.
Thank
Try
you,
the snapshot.
Jonathan. That's right. I've been watching Josh Long develop against snapshots for over a decade.
I know.
Right?
Yeah. If you want something frightening, like think about using a snapshot in front of an audience.
And he does it all the time. That's amazing. So yeah, like take it for a spin. Like how bad could it go? Right? So yeah, that's fun stuff. This is great. I'm a big fan. I want to say thank you. There's so many good things and such a massive community. It takes a community to get these things out. And the last thing, how do you decide what goes into a Spring Boot version? Do you guys just like sit around having coffee? You know what I think would be a good idea? How do you decide what goes into a Spring Boot version?
It's a good question. I don't know. Do we sometimes stuff's kind of I wouldn't say dictated to us, but there is a theme that's happening, and we kind of feel like we have to be on board. So, like, if there's a framework feature, we might want to offer support, or if there's a Spring Data feature. For other things, I don't know, Moritz, you probably
Yeah. So like there are often portfolio spanning stuff like the JSpecify, for example, which affected all portfolios. So then the Spring project leads usually get together and discuss that if it makes sense to all projects to adopt that. So that happened for example for JSpecify. Then like Phil said, other Spring projects build cool features and then they want autoconfig or properties in boot. So we do that. We are sitting together like the whole Spring Boot team and do a planning session, and then everyone throws in stuff which they want to see in the next release, and then we start prioritizing that and then get going.
yeah, quite often when you've picked one thing that you want to see in, there's like other related things. So we if you look in the issue tracker, there's sometimes these theme labels that are kind of come and go.
Mm.
So often, like if I think SSL was like a big one, we did a whole like chunk of work on that, and it was suddenly like all these other things, all these other open issues were kind of related. So if we're tackling one, we try and tackle them all. So sometimes there's like once we pick one thing, then it's kind of natural to have a chunk of work related to it.
All of
Um,
that, the 3.3 release, right? That's when we did the reloading of SSL certs and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, and then
Good one.
sometimes people from the community open an issue and they get a lot of like thumbs up, and then we think about, oh, maybe that's a very good idea to include it, and then we start working on that one too. So we are valuing the feedback of the community too. So if you have some great feature ideas, just throw them in the issue tracker and hope that it gets some thumbs up.
I think that's a great idea. That's as a developer advocate, that's kind of what I try to encourage for the community. When hey, Spring Boot 4 came out and your favorite feature didn't get put in, what should you do? You should go to the GitHub. You should open an issue. You should see if there's an issue that already exists and give it a thumbs up. Right? That helps decide what goes in next. It takes a community to have a open source ecosystem like this be successful for this long. And in my head, a lot of that guidance, right? The ones that have all the thumbs up, that's some company that's using Spring that's been building their enterprise on top of it. They like, we need that. That would help us a bunch. Everybody go and put your thumbs up on it because that's how we're going to get the help that we need. Oh, and by the way, opening an issue is great, but providing sample code, providing a reference implementation, that's even better. Everybody always asks, how do I contribute to Spring? It starts with a GitHub. It starts with understanding what would you like to see. There's a spot for everybody. And don't we have like, don't a lot of our projects say like good for first time user, good for first time
Yeah,
contributor? Do we
there's
still have that?
ideal for contribution is a label that we sometimes put on issues that means that we think it's pretty good. And then there's first time only, which is like someone who's never contributed before. We haven't done one of those for a while. And then on the other end of the spectrum, if it's got pending design work on it, that means like don't submit anything because we haven't got a clue how we want to do it yet. And if it's assigned to someone, that means at least in the boot issue tracker, like if it's assigned to someone, that means it's active or someone's got something on a branch somewhere. So don't take those either.
Fantastic, Jonathan. Adding thumbs up on issues is the secret sauce. Vote on issues you would like to see resolved.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. I had a hard time. I'll be honest. I had a hard time. I was nervous, embarrassed, going to the GitHub and seeing like on Spring Boot the hundreds of issues that are there, and like, oh, my issue probably doesn't matter. I don't even know if this is real, and I was afraid to put an issue there. And then later, I sat by somebody else, and they're like, oh, I don't think this works. Here's the issue. Here's what I saw, and here's what I expected was the documentation. And I watched them go through this process out loud, and I was like, you didn't even hesitate. Right? That's the benefit. That there's power there for not just you, but for the entire ecosystem. When you find something that doesn't work, or there's something that's missing that you expected to be there, open an issue.
Yeah,
That
especially if you
helps.
can, so the issue tracker is interesting because it's very hard with the size of team we've got to know what to use the issue tracker for, and we try and keep it for like bugs and enhancements. So like if you've got a bug and you can reproduce it and you can give us a sample, that's great. If you're asking like a general question, Stack Overflow or somewhere else, unfortunately, is the place to go because our issue tracker gets overwhelmed with questions. So those ones tend to go on Stack Overflow.
Yeah, the wiki page that Sean just put in chat is our document how to get help essentially. So the steps you have to follow, like give us a reproducible sample, like a minimal reproducible sample without a lot of stuff in it, which we have to dig through. Please do not copy paste code into the issue because we have to copy paste it out of there and create our own project, and then stuff goes wrong, and then it works on our machine and it doesn't work on your machine, and everyone gets frustrated. So read this wiki page. There are a lot of good tips in there.
Fantastic. I'll make sure to put that into the show notes after the show. And just a reminder, for those of you that didn't get to join, you can always watch this or listen to it as a podcast on your favorite place where you listen to podcasts. This is awesome. Phil, Moritz, Jonathan, Oliver, everybody, thank you so much for joining. We had a massive audience joining for this, and I'm grateful. Thank you so much. And yeah, go take it for a spin. Spring Boot 4 is out. You should take it for a spin. And yeah, we're at time. We had a good chat. We want to hear from you. Let us know how it goes, and we'll see you on the next release party. Phil, Moritz, thank you so much.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Bye.